Have you ever seen the abbreviation sus in a chart and thought, what does that actually mean? Today we're going to talk about suspensions with music on the guitar. Did you see what I just did back there? I put you in a temporary state of suspense. If you've ever seen a suspenseful movie, or if you've ever had the unfortunate experience of having an account suspended or your driver's license suspended, you have experienced suspense. But what do all of these scenarios have in common? They are all temporary. A suspenseful movie can't be suspenseful the entire time. It just wouldn't work. A suspended account is usually restored to good standing when the balance is paid, and a suspended driver's license can eventually be reinstated. So I'm not talking about something being permanently taken away. I'm talking about something being temporarily suspended and eventually, wait for it, resolved. So let's take a moment to discuss what suspensions can look and sound like on the guitar and why they're important. So when we see the term sus in a chart, that's short for a suspended chord. First of all, the most common chord we'll find suspensions for is going to be on the dominant, the 5 chord in a major key. And second of all, the most common type of suspension or sus chord we're going to experience is the sus 4. We could go in all sorts of additional directions, but for now, let's keep things pretty simple. So let's say we're in the key of G major, a very guitar-friendly key. The dominant or 5 chord in G is D. But today, we're not just going to play it as a D major chord. We're going to play it as a D sus 4 chord. It looks just like this with the notes D, A, D, and G. The fingering is open, 1, 3, and 4. The degrees are root, 5th, root, and 4th. Try that out. You may already know this chord. Now, my background in music began with a classical degree, which included several years of collegiate music theory, so I'm going to offer you an additional level of musicality here. It involves a 3-word process. That process is preparation, suspension, and resolution. Because if we think about it, it's nice to be able to prepare ourselves for suspense so we can anticipate it just a bit. The plot thickens in a movie. We get a warning notice that our account is about to be suspended. The cop car behind us fires up the lights on his roof to let us know we're about to be pulled over, which could lead to a suspended license. So preparation is the first step. The second step is the actual suspension. This is where things are in a temporary state of suspense that is typically not restful. The suspenseful scene happens in the movie, putting us on the edge of our seats. Our account is suspended, so we can't have access to it. Our license is suspended, so it's temporarily taken away. So with this suspension, there's a bit of tension. Hey, that rhymes. So there's tension, but in this musical scenario, this is actually a good sort of tension. But as I mentioned, we aren't going to stay in suspense indefinitely. Eventually, we get to the third step, resolution, where the suspension ends or resolves. The suspense in the movie plot winds down, if only temporarily, as it comes to a resting point in the story. The account is restored. The license is reinstated. So again, think through those 3 words as we continue. Preparation, suspension, and resolution. So here we are in the key of G major. The 1 chord in G major is G major, right? The 4 chord is C major, and the 5 chord is D major. Now, to bring this right to your fingers in an easy manner, I'll actually use some color chords, so the chords will actually be easier to play, and they also won't be pure major chords, but they'll still totally work for this exercise. The most important note in this suspension exercise is the high G note on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. I want you to watch this note very carefully because it's going to remain for 3 chords, but it will have a different identity in each. The first chord I'll play is our 1 chord, which I'll analyze as a G5 chord with no 3rd. So in this G chord, this high G is the root, right? But then when we move to a C2 chord for the 4 chord, we still keep that G up on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, and now it's the 5th of that chord. It's at this stage that we start to feel the preparation. In other words, we're ramping up to the suspension. Next up is the 5 chord D, but we're going to keep the high G note on that 3rd fret, thereby rendering this chord a D sus4. Why is it a D sus4? Because the high G is now the 4th degree of the D chord. Now, typically a D major chord won't have a G in it, but rather an F sharp, right? But here, with this chord, the 5 sus4 is providing the suspension we're after. Right now, it's not a major chord, so now we've been put in suspense. It's not a restful chord. It's a chord where we're temporarily on edge just a bit. But what follows a suspension, ideally? You know it, resolution. All we need to do is take that high G note that we've had with us all along and let it resolve down to the F sharp, thereby establishing the D major chord on its way back to the G chord. See how the 5 sus4 chord resolves to a major 5 chord and finally back to the 1 chord? It's actually quite pleasing to the ear. Listen again. We have 1, 4, 5 sus4, 5, and back to 1. Preparation, suspension, and resolution on our way back to the home tonic chord. Is there more? Always. Can we create a sus2 chord? Yep. Can we create suspensions with 7 chords? Yeah, buddy. Can we play suspensions as bar chords? Of course. Can we play a suspension without preparing or resolving it? We're technically not playing these functionally as suspensions, but sure. Can suspensions resolve to minor chords? Yes, but that tends to sound a little more foreign in some cases. As you can see, we can go much further, but it all starts here with this simple process of knowing what a suspension is and then experimenting with the intentional approach of preparing, suspending, and resolving. If you are interested in going further, you just might know what I'm about to suggest, but by way of a friendly reminder, we are here for you in a unique online experience called Guitar Success for You, for Christian guitar players who know that there's more to music and who are committed to playing the long game. Inside this experience, we go much deeper with suspensions and the artistry involved with using them, but also all manner of other tools like inversions, the caged system, color chords, fretboard knowledge, modulations, fingerstyle, flat picking, strumming patterns, and so much more. And we provide step-by-step proven lessons that have helped beginning and intermediate Christian guitar players discover their potential in a whole new way. Maybe you could be our next happy member. Head on over to guitarsuccess4u.com to see what all the fuss is about and to take your next steps towards guitar success. I hope to see you inside the membership. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I wonder if anybody noticed I was wearing suspenders.